This is Holly.
This is Christy.
We are a sister duo, and together we have conversations we weren't having anywhere else. So if you've been asking yourself, is this it? Pull up a chair. This is Henlet's Collective. If I could go back and sit next to myself in high school, I think there's a few things I'd whisper that no class, no teacher ever covered. Welcome to today's podcast. We're talking about what we weren't taught and how that showed up in our adult lives and relationships. The life lessons you can only learn by living and sometimes learning the hard way. School taught us a lot of things: how to memorize, how to test well, how to follow instructions, but it didn't teach us how to handle rejection or how to walk away when something feels off. So we're actually talking about something that almost feels universal. It's not algebra, not the periodic table, the real stuff. The stuff that would have saved us time, money, heartbreak, certainly a few questionable relationships. You know, they taught us how to diagram a cell, but nobody taught us how to set boundaries. Nobody explained credit scores in a way that made sense, or how they affect credit card purchases. Today, nobody covered how to regulate emotions when you're tired, you're overwhelmed, and you're still expected to function like a fully formed adult.
So raise your hand if you can solve X times Z, but still, like me, have to Google how long it takes to cook an egg or boil an egg or cook a chicken. Maybe you graduated knowing how to summarize something, but you don't know how to communicate in conflict or know how to manage stress without spiraling. Yep, that's me.
Okay, well, look, when you grow up learning to manage other people's emotions, you get very good at ignoring your own, right? When you're not taught how to protect yourself, you don't just walk through childhood differently. You date differently, you trust differently, and you tolerate differently. You know, for me, one of the biggest patterns I see now is how quickly I rush into things. And at the time, it didn't feel like rushing or escaping. It felt like a connection. It felt like being chosen.
What do you mean, rush into things?
So whether it's relationships, friendships, I mean, even with my projects, and I still rush into projects, as you know. This podcast is a great example. Sometimes it works.
At least this is fun.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I think that when you're rushing into things, you're not seeing the whole picture. I learned the Pythagorean theory, but I didn't learn how to read a red flag, that kind of rushing into things. I think when you don't grow up learning what steady safety feels like, intensity can still feel like love. I wasn't taught how to defend myself emotionally. So instead of pacing myself, I attached quickly. I wanted to secure that connection before it disappeared. And eventually, at some point, I had to learn that safe doesn't rush. Safe doesn't pressure. Safe doesn't make you feel like you have to lock it down immediately. But
yeah, I agree. So looking back, like when you were out of high school, out of college, you graduated college and everything, what did you learn quickly as an adult?
Well, if I'm honest, I hate to say this. I really, really hate to say this. I had to learn how to do laundry.
What taught us how to do laundry?
Well,
she taught me. Did she not teach you?
I didn't know how to do my own laundry.
Well, she taught us how to separate whites and darks and what speed. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I was fascinated with what Mom did, but I don't mix them now. I'll just tell you that, or I don't separate them now. Excuse me.
I mean, that was literally one of the first things that I learned, and obviously budgeting. And I didn't know how to budget. I mean, I can only budget now because I'm forced to. But
yeah, budgeting's a hard one.
Yeah, you don't, look, and I know that school looked different for everyone, right? So whether you are in the 80s before the damn cell phones came out and you're texting everybody. We didn't have that. In elementary school, we had pen pals. You don't have that now because you got the computer and you can just dial across the world and be like, oh, hi, Japan. You didn't do that back then. And let's say the 50s where they were taught home economics. Yes, they still had some courses, but as a general rule. So it looks different for everyone. That's why I say that was literally one of the first things that I probably learned.
Mine was cooking, but we didn't really cook a lot growing up. It was just always the staple things. So my big thing, like becoming an adult, was really learning how to cook. Now, you're an excellent, like gourmet cook, and I can get by with basics.
I mean, I did cook kind of early, but what I didn't realize back then when I was actually doing it was, one, how much Mom hated to cook. Because we'd always ask her, what's for dinner? Not realizing she just had a 12-hour work day because we're hungry. And some things we did do. It's the things like that. The things you take for granted that you don't do now. Now we know, okay, you work a full day. Now you have to come home and actually fix a dinner. I don't know, man. You gotta come home and feed your animals because they're gonna starve if you don't feed them.
Exactly. So today we're talking about the unofficial curriculum of life, the things school didn't teach us, but adulthood absolutely expects us to know. And so if you're interested in that, this episode is for you.
So I know that for me, especially not so much anymore, that's for sure, because I've learned a lot in the last 4 years. But when you're rushing into, let's say, relationships, it's because I think that for me, you're just afraid of being alone. I was afraid of being alone, afraid of losing someone
100%.
Once you felt connected. And so if you're afraid of being alone or afraid of losing someone you felt connected to, there's actually two different things. So when you're afraid of being alone, you need that constant attention. You feel unsettled when there's no one in your life. You need to fill that space quickly. And when you're afraid of losing the connection, that's when you start attaching really fast and you over invest very early because you're trying to secure commitment quickly. And what happens is you tend to ignore the red flags because you don't want that disruption to your life. And
that's also like something though that you have to learn in adulthood. So I'm obviously that way. I attach fast, and that just has from years of whatever I'm dealing with personally. That's on me, right? But that is something that school definitely does not teach you on how to cope with being your own person, I suppose.
right, yeah, no, I was gonna say, so one thing that school didn't teach me is that, and I learned this very early on because I still use it to this day, is the sarcasm and dryness, because I didn't know, I learned that now, is that your sarcasm pushes people away so that you don't attach on to them. And I still use,
You feel like that's why you do that?
I never saw it that way, but I mean, I know it puts a lot of people off, we're talking romantic relationships, but that certainly applies to friendships. You and I don't have any friends to speak of that, hey, you want to go out to dinner tonight? Hey, you want to go, for a drive? Hey, you want to go for whatever?
Do
I don't. I don't have that person to call and be like, because I don't know how to cultivate friendships. So now, this only and I keep saying this, but everybody is different. You know, some people know how to do that in school. They are friends still to this day. Or maybe they met their love of their life in high school and they're still together. Fine, that's great. I'm just speaking for myself because,
Well, you and I always felt like growing up, like we were the best of friends. And there was a lot of stuff, growing up that kind of pushed us apart. But, even now I feel like I would call you my best friend just because, I feel like I talk to you every day and I can call you with anything that I'm going through and you're just going to be there. Was it always like that? No, obviously, we had to grow and learn how to communicate with each other. When you're an adult, things change, priorities change, your life changes. You're having kids, you're having marriages, you're having relationships, and your friends aren't necessarily going through the same things that you're going through. So those seasons change with your friends.
that's true. That's true. I never thought about that. You and I led very different lives for the most part as adults, and are basically the past 4 or 5 years are coming back to where we were before we had gone our separate ways. So you've been married a few times. I've been married a couple times. Mark and I were together for 27 years. That's a heck of a long time. And at the time, he was my best friend. We tell each other everything. Now, obviously, when you lose that sense of, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And you come to rely on the people that have been there through your whole life. First, you lost Ken, and then right after that, I lost Mark. So it's like, okay, well, now we had that bond. And I think that really cemented our relationship now because we had that. And school's not going to teach you, it's going to teach you the practical stuff, but not the practical stuff. They taught you how to write essays, but not how to rewrite a life, which is basically where you and I are at this point in our lives, because we are rewriting. We're both in our 50s.
100%.
Yeah. And, when we were younger, I mean, just being a year apart, we dressed alike through no fault of our own, of course.
Well,
but
wait. Mom,
that's
mother, your mother dressed us alike. And every picture I see, I swear we look like twins with suspenders and vests.
How many people asked us, are you twins? Are you twins? At the time, I didn't even know what a twin was, so I'd say yes. And we could literally read each other's minds. We were that close. And then we had lost that. And we don't have the mind reading like we used to. But yeah, we definitely talk every day now. And you were the first person I approached to do this podcast because I thought this would be perfect for us. And we both, even just in the past month, have grown exponentially.
Well, Holly, as much as you schmooze me up, I'm not dressing like you anymore.
Look, I'm wearing my jeans and t-shirts, okay? So you can wear whatever you want. You can dye your hair whatever you want. Just leave me and my Cruella-ness alone, okay? But even just our philosophy on different things is a little bit different. But
yeah, I agree.
Does school teach you those?
Well, I mean, so
sure, it teaches you philosophy,
so
but it doesn't teach you adult philosophy.
100%. And even though we're in our 50s, we're still growing and learning how to be an adult for real and how to manage life effectively. And I think that's everyone out there, though. Everyone out in the world is learning how to do life as an adult. So to kind of lighten things up, though, just to kind of ask you a few things. What life lesson, quote, life lesson shocked you after graduation besides laundry?
Divorce. Honestly. I mean, obviously Mom had been divorced, but we were way too young to understand it back then. We were 4 years old. I mean, I don't know, 3 years old. We were young, right? And that's the other thing. You rush into these things because you want out of the house. You want to be an adult. You want to live your own life, and no amount of I told you so is going to help. I told you so.
And I think I was the complete opposite. So parenthood, and I was such a young mother. We were both such young mothers. And I think being a parent is probably the one thing that shocked me the most, and how to navigate not even really being a full adult myself. I was 21 when I had Megan, and for some reason, that's the only child I was ever able to have. I feel very blessed to have her. I think I did the complete opposite, and I over loved her, and I over hugged and tried to spoil her, and I would just say that just backfired.
Well,
So
yeah. No, and I just, my main goal for my children was to have, what's the word? Safety, security, and reliability, and like how they could be dependent upon us to always have a safe zone in the house. Now, obviously, it doesn't help. You can protect them in other ways. I haven't had too many relationships. I, again, don't know how to get that emotional availability. Well, obviously, now I can probably say I'm a lot more forthwith and more forthcoming, but the intimacy part of a relationship is not something that I really want. And it was just, it's hard to, and they don't learn how to teach you that in school, how to be.
oh, they're not. No,
Now
they're
there's
going to
sex
teach you how to
ed, of
carry around
course, but
an an egg, an
yeah.
egg and a baby, and how to care for a baby that cries.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're in high school, and again, this was just me, I wasn't interested in sex. So it took me a long time to get rid of my virginity, shall I say. So when you say we had our kids young, I mean, I was 24, 25. I don't think it was that young. But when I look at my kids now, I'm like, oh my God, I was so young. But it's kids, when they're carrying around that egg, don't really realize the fragility of what that actually means. Does that make sense? So
And you don't think they teach that in home ed or whatever it is?
I don't know. I don't remember. I'll be honest. I probably don't even remember. I probably, I don't remember
Or one
carrying around
thing
an egg.
I don't either. One thing home ed taught me was how to make a really damn good crepe. That's what I remember.
I don't even remember having home ec.
Right?
I don't remember.
You don't?
No.
I love that class.
I think instead of home economics, that I had peer counseling. So like like a peer counseling class instead of home economics, which maybe should have helped into adulthood. But again, I don't remember. And back then, I probably wasn't as open as I am now. So my mind was definitely a lot more closed off and judgmental back then. But
You know, I'm
I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm not anybody. I'll be here to listen, but I can't. And maybe that's all that peer counseling was, just to listen. But I felt like I had to maybe try and offer solutions that I certainly didn't have back then.
well, you have them now. I mean, I feel like you're my counselor all the time. So, uh,
Shut up and stop
but
complaining.
pretty much, if there was one class in high school that you wish you would have had to teach you about adulthood, what would that have been? Mine would have been like how to spend and budget and use credit cards.
Oh, for sure. If I told myself now, back then, debt is a very real thing. The stress from debt will literally kill you.
Yes. Yes.
That's what they need to teach. And again, not everyone's the same. We are only speaking for ourselves and what we became and how we are today.
I remember my first credit card. I was 22. I was so excited. because I got a credit card to JC freaking Penny, right? And oh man, I went nuts buying clothes and clothes for Megan. And I went crazy, right? But no one taught me, if you don't pay this off, you're not getting another credit card.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah. Or bankruptcy
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the damage that that does. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that people need to be taught. These real life things that happen. Now, obviously some kids are very determined and have a house by the time they're 25 and maybe a car. I wasn't like that. And I think that I don't know if kids nowadays would do that.
What do you mean?
I don't know if there was still a class, if that was really available. Would kids actually want to learn that stuff? Or would they just not care and want to do it the hard way, like we did?
Well, don't you feel, though, like that today, for the most part, that schools expect parents and kids at home to be learning that stuff at home instead of school?
Yeah, well, for sure. Here's my take. So your mother is very hyper independent. And
Yes.
I know for a fact that she expects that of us. We were not like that for obvious reasons. And we didn't have her will, her drive, her self-awareness that she had or has. And if people had that as good parenting skills, then it would be different. So maybe people need parenting skills in high school because, face it, how many people, and I know obviously, teen pregnancy rates have dropped, but how many people do become parents in high school? They're just oh my God, babies. And,
Right.
life lessons are hard, man. They are really hard. And I think if people truly took it upon themselves or had that, it would be probably really different.
I agree. There's times that I think obviously school could have been different. I took away a lot from school, but there's just so many things. And I know they offer a lot of different classes now. Like, I'll just give you an example. So that damned that Chevy Nova that you and I shared, I was like right out of high school, you were in college, and we shared that Chevy Nova. What stupid. I never knew. So that thing leaked oil like a sieve, right?
Yeah.
Now there was just oil all the time. We pulled into a gas station and we were taught how to check the oil. One thing we were not taught was where to put the oil back in.
Mm.
And so stupid me, here I am, 18 years old, and I put oil in the radiator. I'm not even kidding you. Do you remember that Shell station right up the... I even told you. I don't know if you remember that gas station right up on Yale Street. It was just like a little gas station that we always went to. Charged me $120 to flush out the radiator. 18 years old. Thank God I was working. I will never, ever forget that. That was my first true adult moment.
All I know is that car had a lot of, it was constantly in the shop. Now I know why it was in the shop. Oh my God. I didn't even know you drove that car. I thought I was the only one that drove that car. You stole the keys from me.
No. Car was like gonna drive.
Wow. Unbelievable. The things you learn as an adult. Holy moly.
Oh no.
That's
what car was I gonna drive? Well, thank God you got a new car.
Well, yeah.
I did you a favor.
Yeah, thankfully I had a job then that could pay those payments. But yeah, I remember that car. I was so proud to get that little car brand new. I had no AC.
No, that wasn't little. Not little. That thing was like a train going
well,
down
the
the
Nova
road.
was,
Like
but
you can
I
hear
mean
that
the
thing
one
from like,
after
2 miles away. Oh, here comes Holly.
Yeah, I threw up in that car, just to let you know. Okay, look,
Close.
here's another thing they don't teach you, okay? And you have to learn this the hard way, okay? When you're a girl and you go through your monthly courses, and some girls get deathly ill, and unfortunately, I was not in a place where I could take some medicine, and
Oh my gosh.
I physically would get sick. Like I threw up all over the steering wheel. So what do? I'm like what? 19
No.
years old. Okay, I'm 19. That's still considered an adult, right? Mom, I just threw up. Okay, I'll come clean it when I get home. I don't know how to clean barf out of my car. Oh my god.
My gosh, that is disgusting. Why didn't you ever tell me?
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Jeez.
Oh Lord.
Fine.
They don't teach you about the human body and all the different ways that each person is
No.
different. I mean, look how
True.
many girls get, I don't know, it's just, and I remember being told, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, however old I was, mom trying to explain how the monthly courses worked and what you're supposed to be looking for. And
Yeah, I never got that.
yeah, and I was
I think
just like,
you were supposed to teach me, and so I never learned anything.
so that's why I tell the kids pretty early what to expect and how to take care of it and stuff like that. Because I just, maybe back then, I think that there was still a stigma of keeping certain things private, obviously.
I don't know about that. Don't you remember Mom used to announce, oh, Chrissy got her period
Yes.
for the first
Yes.
time?
Yes. So she just said, yeah. So, okay, but, tell me what's going to happen after that. Tell me that I can get pregnant now that I've had my period. Come on. I mean, oh, yeah.
I don't know. Well, yeah. You know what? This episode just took a turn.
I know. No, it really did. But it was good because yes, there are obviously, you have to go through life and learn a lot of things. But my kids are very, very open about a lot of things, because that's what we taught them. Because I didn't want to be, like I said before, I just did not want them to be in the same boat as you and I. Now,
Agreed. I did. I taught Megan all about that, and I taught her how to cook and do everything from a young age, just because you're right. I did not want her growing up having to learn all of that on her own as she. So,
what they also don't teach you is when you're a perfectionist, okay? And you strive to be pleasing to everyone and do everything exactly right. I was very much a perfectionist up until recently. And especially when they were little, and when you're teaching kids and I'm like, no, just move. Let me just do this. I can't. And so now they don't cook. I mean, they're starting to learn how to cook, but that's because they read a recipe. I don't know. It just was like one of those things that drove me nuts. And so that's what I'm saying. So how do you teach that in school when you're a perfectionist and you have to allow for other people's imperfections to be okay?
well, do you feel like kids now going through school are learning the same kind of things growing up that you and I did?
No.
Or
No,
do
no.
you feel like it's way, way broader?
I don't even know. I'm honestly so grateful that I don't have kids in school anymore. I can't imagine what school is like now. We had to learn cursive in elementary school. And I talked to somebody about it not too long ago. And he was, well, why do they have to? Why do they have to learn that? I was kind of stumped because they just have to. The things that you learn back then is not what they're learning now. And I don't know. So that's hard because we don't have school age children. Well, you have grandchildren that are school age, but I don't. So I have no idea because homeschooling is such a thing now where we were forced to
Yes.
go to public school because they didn't have the charter schools. Sure, I'm sure they had
That's
private
it.
schools, but not very much. And so it's definitely a lot different than when we were there.
No, and maybe that's too because, a lot of adults now see their kids growing up kind of in the same light as you and I. They don't want their kids growing up in the same system that they did. I know if I would have done things different, I would have taught Megan a lot of different things and been a way different parent. compared to what I know now.
Yeah. So I know I can kind of sort of speak for my kids, but with me being a helicopter mom, I'm like, okay, well, you can't do this and you can't do this. And, I don't want you to do this. But Mark would have Kaylin up on his workbench teaching her how to use a drill when she was 1 year old. I mean, she can certainly do stuff now. And like she said, she's very independent. And so she doesn't need anybody. So if she has you in her life, it's because she wants you there and that you add value to her life. So that's a good lesson for school. How do you place a value on what people give you back as to what you're giving out? I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
So, it's like she could.
That's a tough thing, though, because people place value in different ways.
Well, yeah, that's true, too. So, but see, these are lessons that you don't think about when you're in school. They just happen. And when you're talking about it, you can be like, oh, I should have learned this. Oh, I should have learned this. Oh, I should have learned this. Why didn't I learn this? And it's hard as an adult because you have to do all these other things plus this other thing, right? I feel like most of it probably should. I think if there was good parenting classes in high school, this would solve a lot of problems.
I just have a question for you. So do you feel like, I just personally feel like this episode it hits harder for you and I sometimes just because we did grow up in a dysfunctional home, and we did grow up with different belief system than what we have now. And so things have just changed dramatically for you and I over the years. Do you feel like this episode just hits harder to talk about in some aspects?
Well, yeah, but maybe. I guess we're saying we want more life lessons taught in school when you have to live life to learn those lessons. And we're trying to head that off at the pass by saying, oh, you should teach this. Oh, you should teach this. But you really probably can't teach that. You really, really have to live it. And you have to live it to the best of your ability at the time. I do think that there could be some things taught that might help in that future. But yeah, that's a tough one. But again, so yes, a dysfunctional household, but would the parenting classes in high school have taught how to be a functional household later? I don't know.
Hard to say, just because everyone teaches differently, right? So, and everyone learns differently.
Yeah, well, that is true too. That, I didn't think about that being taught differently and learning differently, I think.
Yeah, because you're not going to absorb things the way that I do. And then that's just, in a way, I think that's just how we learn our lessons.
Well, okay, let me give you
in life.
Let me give you an example too, is in book club, we just read a book our meeting was last night. And I wasn't able to go to the meeting, but just in chit-chatting, we discovered that every single one of us had a different take based on the same story.
Yeah.
And we were just like, oh, wow, I didn't see it like that. I didn't see it like that. I didn't see it like that. So yeah, you're totally right. You're learning things completely different than what I'm learning. Yeah.
Totally, Jeff. So,
well,
anyway,
maybe we weren't taught everything we needed, but we learned a lot of times the hard way. And maybe the point isn't what we missed, it's that we're still figuring it out. And no one taught us what was normal. No one taught us how to recognize when something wasn't okay. And no one taught us that our discomfort was enough. So what is one thing that you wish you could tell your younger self based on what you know now?
It's really hard. I mean, there's a lot of things, right? So I think I would tell myself to, what would I tell myself? Probably put as much effort as I do now, or, back then as I do now. So I work really hard to 12-hour days sometimes in order to make ends meet. And I wish I would have told myself, my younger self, to put in the work when you were in your 20s so that you didn't have to work so hard in your 50s, and to save money, just to be able to save money so that you're not constantly struggling. That's what I would tell myself.
Yeah, certainly the paycheck to paycheck is a serious, serious issue for most Americans, I think. Well, not even Americans, just the world, right? Something that, yeah, they don't say that in school, you know. Paycheck to paycheck is probably going to kill you. And even still to this day, you can't say, go to college. It's going to fix everything for you, because it doesn't.
Doesn't.
You know, it might give you a career path in order to maybe have a possibly better job, but it doesn't stop you from still figuring out how to do all the saving that you would need to. Because even in college, it costs a lot of money to go to college. So now you're in debt.
You got that right.
Because
that's right.
Now you got all this college tuition, and it's quite difficult to say that now, because people realize that just going to college and having all that tuition cost doesn't save you from living paycheck to paycheck.
That's right. That's absolutely
and
right. And not that I'm dissuading anyone from going to college, any stretch of the imagination, because I feel like when you go to college, you find your true career path that can grow you into really big things.
Possibly.
Does college like bring you the end all be all of things? No.
I went to college, but I don't have a job now, and I am not old enough to be retired. So where does that leave me? Caitlin has a college education, a very great college education. What's she doing now? School is not the end all and be all. So yes, they need to teach that debt and saving and paycheck to paycheck is a very real thing.
Yes.
So yes, please save your money.
I know that's what I would tell my younger self.
For sure. And okay, the other thing too with that is because you and I mean, we just were, back then, we were just what they consider middle income, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And
middle
class. And we didn't have everything that we wanted, but we had pretty much whatever we needed. And for a lot of it, we could have what we wanted. But you know, when you're an adult and you're like, oh, I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And like you said, pretty soon your pennies card is all the way up to here. And oh, God, now with my paycheck to paycheck, now I got to find a way to pay back $100 each month that I need for groceries.
Exactly.
That's the stuff they need to teach. We can't go back and add that class to the curriculum, but certainly we can talk about it now, and we can name it, and we can teach our daughters, because we both had just daughters, because girls run in our family. And we can stand beside other women and say, that wasn't your fault you didn't learn that, or that you had to suffer through those lessons. Because I think it's important that we help each other in learning stuff, and not in a judgmental way, but more like a emotionally available, here, I have you kind of way. And I think those are kind of the life lessons that I think should be taught in school. But
right.
Yeah.
I mean, mine are much simpler, you know, how to cook without setting off a smoke alarm. I mean, that's kind of big for me. I'm not a cook like you. I'm not a chef like you. So if the bacon gets burned, I'm sorry. You're going to have to deal.
That's gross.
I don't know how to fold it. I don't know how to fold a fitted sheet.
I don't either.
And I don't even know how to grocery shop without buying a bunch of chips and cookies and donuts.
Well, I know how to grocery shop, because it's going to be coffee, dog food, dog biscuits, creamer, milk, bread, cheese, and eggs. Okay, there's my paycheck. I mean, we talked about this last week, the cost of our dang dog, man.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Well, if you like today's podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Thank you for listening, and we'll save you a chair for next time.
Bye.